My name is Stefan van Eykenscheid. I'm co-founder and CEO of K15T Software. We're an add-on vendor for the Atlassian platform, mostly focused on Confluence. And we try to help our customers to use Confluence for content collaboration and content management. And we're building the Scroll add-on suite for those who don't know them yet. We're an Atlassian Platinum partner based in Stuttgart, and we help local customers or customers in Germany to use the Atlassian products. I'm really happy that today I can talk to you about Scroll Viewport. So Viewport is a product we've released last year, and we have in the last couple of months we have worked hard to work on version 2.0, and I'm happy to present to you what's new in Viewport 2.0. As I've seen from the attendees list, there are also attendees who might not have used Viewport so far. So I will give a quick intro about Viewport, what it does in general, but I will also mix in the new features. So I hope it's still interesting for everyone. So what's the goal of Scroll Viewport? Scroll Viewport is with Scroll Viewport, we want to help you to build kick-ass websites with Confluence. It's not a real trademark, but that's what it should be there for. Why do we think it's necessary? I can tell you we've used Confluence for our own website content management system since 2010, and we always had like mixed feelings about it. On the one hand, Confluence was really great for managing content and creating content in the wiki. But on the other hand, we saw quite a few disadvantages, and we had to work around them. And some we even had to live with. There was no workaround. What do we think we need for a kick-ass website? So there's, of course, we want to have like kick-ass design so that it complies with your corporate design. You want to have fast websites that users can load the website fast. And of course, it should be findable. So it should be search engine optimized, and so that people can find it and come to your website. And of course, I think most importantly is content. Content is still king, as one might still know from the ancient times of the .com era. But I will focus now on design, speed, and SEO. Because that's what we've struggled most with when we created our website in Confluence. How can you publish websites from Confluence? Basically, you have three options which you can go with. First of all, it's quite near that it's quite close, and the first choice for most people to use Confluence Themes because it's built into the platform, and it sounds that it's there for. That's certainly a good starting point. I will get into detail about it a little bit in a second. Another option is to create a static HTML export and put that on a web server and serve the content from there. It's also not too bad because you always have, like in a company or on a hosting server, it's easy to get an Apache web server where you can host static HTML content. And the third option, of course, is Scroll Viewport. But first of all, Confluence Themes. This is what we did a lot. We not only did it for ourselves, we also helped customers to create Confluence Themes. And of course, it was like the first choice because that's what Atlassian offers, and Atlassian advertises that it can be used to customize the look of Confluence. Within Confluence Themes, you basically have two options. You can roll your own theme, create a custom one. There's an extension point for theme developers where they can start. At first, it looks quite easy, but as soon as you get into a little bit more detail, you will see that you not only need to know standard web development skills, but you also need to get into real detail about Confluence and how Confluence is creating the UI, and it uses really ancient technologies like Sitemesh, for example, which has been originally developed. It's an open source platform, and it has originally been developed by Scott Farquhar, the founder of Atlassian. So it's really old, I can tell. And the biggest problem with that is that basically in every Confluence upgrade or update, Atlassian is changing the structure of the scripts and decorators of the UI. So really, with every update, you have to update your theme. With every Confluence update, you also have to update your Confluence theme. I experienced this a couple times, and it was a blocker for us. We couldn't upgrade our Confluence system because no one hadn't migrated the Confluence theme yet, so that's a really big pain. Please take away from that, try to avoid to build your own theme. A better solution from my perspective is to go into the marketplace and look at different options which are there, like tools from add-on vendors like us, which take care that the upgrades are less troublesome, and those themes also help you to customize how Confluence looks. However, these themes, most of the themes, some more, some less, do kind of limit how flexible you are in how to design your website or your intranet. And the biggest problem from my perspective is with any themes, regardless of custom themes or theme add-ons like those here, is that that Confluence themes still act like Confluence. They are the UI of Confluence. What this means, I'll tell you in a second. Because the themes are the Confluence UI, they also inherit the slowness of Confluence. Confluence is a web application, and you have all those menus like the browse menu, but there are a couple more, and Confluence needs to check for every request whether the current user has access to those entries, and so it's hard for Confluence to cache, and it gets slower. And we've talked to the Confluence team; they don't take this as an offense or so. They know that it's like that, but it's really hard to make it faster. So that's one disadvantage which is shared across all themes. Then SEO, anyone? I talked about that. It's important that your website is findable. And themes in Confluence and other plugins in Confluence help you with changing the values of the meta tags, which are used by search engines, but they're less important for ranking. And the most important bit for ranking is URLs, and that's not really handled well. I'm going into the wrong direction. Sorry about that. Here we go. So this is probably the URL. You go to a website and then to a wiki, and then you have /display/en. That's the space key, and then /space title. This is kind of okay because it contains the page title. But on the other hand, in the URL, you still have the display string and en, which you don't want to search engine optimize. And if you use special characters, not only umlauts, but also like a question mark or a hash or something, or brackets, Confluence will create a really ugly URL, which is like /pages/viewpage.action, and then uses the page ID. And this is really not working well for SEO. What's the other option? Static HTML export. In Confluence, there's the standard HTML export, which is once you've exported and put your static HTML content onto a web server, it's really fast. And it also can be customized to some extent. I'll show you an example here, how it looks like. That's a documentation of another product of ours. But it's really static. There's no interaction. If you want to update, if you want to search, that's all not working in the static HTML export. Then I also want to plug in some other product of ours, the Scroll HTML exporter, which has basically the same characteristics as the built-in HTML exporter from Confluence. The content is served fast if put onto a web server. It can be customized even a bit more than the standard one, and it has a JavaScript-based search index. We'll have soon. It looks basically like this. not too bad, but still it's not really interactive. For example, if you want to update content, you always have to go back to the Confluence server, log in, and update the page there, and do an export again, upload it to the web server again. So it's also not really optimal. So I want it all. We want it all. And what we want is we want to have simple theming, we want to have speed, and we want to have SEO URLs. And therefore, we looked at how other systems are doing it. We looked at other CMSs and we learned from it that they separate editing from the viewing. So the editing UI is complete separate from viewing, and we created like a concept which we call viewports. It's a special view onto the content, and from there the name is clear. That's why we call it Scroll Viewport, our product. And what it does is quite easy. So on the left side, you have the standard Confluence page as you know it, just same URL and so on. And on the right side, add a special URL /confluence/ALX in that example. That's the viewport. It's the same content, but it's presented differently, and you can see there are far less menus and so on. And that's the viewport. And let's get into the details what it does. First of all, Viewport provides SEO-friendly viewport URL. So viewport URL has been up till now built from the hierarchy of the pages. So as you can see here, the page overview is a child page of Scroll Versions, which is a child page of software, and this is how the URL is being constructed. This works really well for websites and intranets and with pages where the hierarchy is not that deep and the page titles are not that long. In some cases, which we've seen, when the page titles are longer, this doesn't work so well. The URLs get really long. So that's why we have a new feature in version 2. It's called flat URL naming. This means that the URL is basically all on one level, and we use basically just the page ID to look up the page. I'll get to that during the demo. Then what's important about Viewport is it's fast and it's secure. It's fast, it's secure because we use the permissions from Confluence. So all the permissions you configure in Confluence, they are also in Viewport. Viewport will not try to work around those permissions. But because we only have to check the permissions on the content, but not on all the complex menus, it's still really fast to do that check. And we found out that the rendering content in the Scroll Viewport is at least 3 times faster than the same page on the same system in Confluence. There's also a new feature in 2.0. So as I said, Scroll Viewport does check the permissions in Confluence, but you have to open up a space to present it to the web or to a certain user group, and so those people can also go to the Confluence UI, which we've seen that some of our users didn't want to have. So we've created a way where you can restrict the access to the Confluence UI. So when someone tries to access the page in Confluence, who is not allowed to do so by this menu, we will redirect that user automatically to the viewport. And the third part is we want to have simple theme development. Being a web developer myself, I've also done a lot of web development starting end of the 90s. I always felt that HTML, CSS, and JavaScript should be the limit when creating a website, and not the technology or framework from the platform. So what we've created a solution where template developers can plug in their own CSS and HTML frameworks, create their own JavaScript and upload that, and do whatever they can do with those technologies and don't have a real limit. I've got a quick example how such a template looks like. Like a template is one file in a theme, which is responsible for rendering the output. So in this example, you can see it's a very simple HTML page, and there are so-called placeholders like this $page object where you can retrieve the content from Confluence. So $page.title, for example, outputs the title of the current page, and $page.content, the content obviously. And then you can also see it's really easy to load scripts, which are also part of such a theme. 2.0, there's something new. It's also kind of a breaking change, so template developers and theme developers, be aware of that. In Viewport 2.0, you could you had to define which template should be used for which path, which we thought back then makes sense, because then you can have different templates depending on which section you are on a website or on an intranet. But we found out that this was really complex. You had to put in a statement like one of the two top ones into your template, and it was always kind of hard to understand for people how to do it. So what we changed is that we now select the templates by file name convention. So when you want to create a template for a simple page, just create a page VM, and that one is used to render a page. It's similar. It's basically the file name convention thing. We've done that for blog posts so far, for error pages, and for the other bits. And now we've extended that concept to pages as well, so that it's using the same concept, also the file name conventions. And also with like a special name for when you create a homepage VM template, that one is used to render the homepage of a space. Quickly at a glance, what about? I've mentioned already some features of 2.0, but here again the features in 2.0. So we've got a completely new config UI. You will see in a second. Getting started is much simpler. It's really fast. You don't have to get a Confluence admin to get you to create a viewport. Also, space admins can do that. The previously called content menu, which you could use to switch back and forth between Confluence and the viewport, is now called viewport control, and we think it's much nicer now. You will see in a second. Then we have the flat URL naming. I mentioned that already, as well as the two next points. And a big thing which took us a long time is that we refactored the whole infrastructure, which is loading the content from Confluence. What we are now capable of is to load content from scroll version spaces, so you can actually serve multiple versions from one space. But it's also already possible to serve content from different spaces actually. So if you want to do coding, Java coding, you can do stuff like that as well. That's something which is not like part of the official product. That's something which you can get in touch with us, and then we figure out how we can do that together or with another Atlassian partner. Okay, it's demo time. Let's go and open the demo. So first of all, you have to install Scroll Viewport, which I've already done here. It's currently we are developing towards milestone 5. I've installed it here. Once the final build is ready, it will be available on the marketplace. And then basically you have to go to a space. I'm going to show you the documentation for another product of ours called Scroll Acrylinks Connector. I'm looking to, this is the version 1.1 of that documentation. And here we quickly get a notification about Scroll Viewport so that we can quickly get started. If you don't want to have it, you just click it away and then you never see this again. So we want to get started now. So now we're in the space level configuration. You can still do it as a Confluence admin. You can still do it on a global level. But here you can go ahead and select what theme you want to look at. You can also create your own themes and clone an existing theme and work with that. I should also show you in a second. But let's select the Bootstrap theme for now. That's using Twitter Bootstrap, which is a third-party CSS and HTML5 framework developed by Twitter. And here you have like a preview panel down here where you can while choosing themes, you can look at how it looks like. I'm going for the Bootstrap one. Then on the next tab, you can decide which content types should be available in this viewport. Previously in 1.x, you had to define different viewports for pages and blog posts. Now you can combine them in one viewport. So if you add blog posts here, you will have an additional entry in the header where you have where you can start navigating in the blog posts. Switch it off for now. Then there's a URL tab where you can configure the domain name and also the path prefix that's similar, that's exactly the same as before in Viewport 1.x. And here you can see also the additional feature with hierarchical URL naming or flat URL naming. I'll leave it in hierarchical for now. The fourth tab is about the permissions. Here you can restrict the access to Confluence UI. If you want to access it to logged in Confluence users, you just do Confluence users, and then you save. No anonymous user can go to your and can view the Confluence pages as such. That said, it's not like a 100% solution here. It's more of a solution that people get redirected to the viewport URL. Also, search engine bots will also get redirected to the Confluence URL. Once you're done with the configuration, you just say save, and then you can open it in a new tab. And here we go. So here we have like the new viewport design. It's the Bootstrap design. As I mentioned, switching back and forth has become, we think, a lot nicer. You have this viewport control here on the side. It can be integrated with the theme, and then from here you can switch to Confluence really easily. You can tell that loading the Confluence page takes a little longer than loading the viewport page. And if you want to go back to the viewport format page, you can just go back like this. So this is really fast, as you've seen. Yeah, and basically here you can, it's basically taking the content from the Confluence page here, and then showing the content, and also showing a navigation here. So let's have a look at the hierarchy, the flat URL naming. So I'll leave this one open. So this is the hierarchical page naming, right? And if I now go back to the page path, I can switch here to the flat naming, say save, and I open this one also in a new tab. For the start page, it's the same, but when I go to a child page, let me try to find the same child page. You can tell it's all on the same level. And what we do is we also looked at other CMSs, how they're doing it. And what we basically do with the page ID here, which makes Viewport look up the correct page, and the first part of the file name, it's not a real file name obviously, but it's taking the page title here, so that this one can be used by Google to rank your page. So this is the flat URL naming. Okay. Next, Johannes asked me earlier that it might be interesting for many to look at this domain name feature, what this actually does, what does it mean. So let me switch back to the hierarchical naming here, and I close the tabs here. So domain name feature basically means that you can register a viewport under a different domain. So for example, here I'm currently running this Confluence system on VPRT, that's abbreviation for viewport.dev.k15t.com. Now, when I want to register this viewport just on a certain machine, or on a certain domain name, for example, docs.dev.k15t.com, and I select that because it's it's a document. It should be eventually it should be on our docs website. I can open this, then you tab, and I just have to make sure that this that the Confluence system is also reachable under this domain. So if I open Confluence, if I go to this domain, it's actually the same. It's actually the same Confluence system as the one running on vprt.dev.k15t.com. So it's just a different name. However, Viewport can check whether under which domain name it runs. So if I go to this Viewport here, you can see it's now using the docs domain. And if I try to go to that Viewport and use the other domain, it won't work. It will just tell me page not found, because that's the Confluence system. And by doing that, you can serve multiple sites from one Confluence system, which can be quite handy if you, for example, have an intranet space in Confluence and you want to deliver it at intranet.company.com. You can just do so, and you still have the wiki, and people can stick with the wiki to do the standard collaboration work they usually do in the wiki. And also the authors who work on the intranet, they also go to the wiki domain. But if the users who only read, they can go to the intranet domain. Next is about the theming. Quickly wanted to show you about theming as well. So I've selected the Bootstrap theme here, and I just wanted to show you how easy it is to change the content in a running Confluence system, right? So I use this Bootstrap theme as a starting point. So I clone the current theme, and here's some information how I can update that theme. And it already also selected this other theme, and now I can connect via FTP to the Confluence system to update that theme. So I have a text editor here, which can actually open files directly from an FTP server. It's called Text Wrangler. It's quite handy. So all I have to do is I have to type in the server name and the correct port, and then I can connect to the Confluence system. And here I can already see that here's the Bootstrap theme, which I've just cloned. So I go there, and I know that I need to update some header. So that's the HTML head. That's not something which is visible, but the include header is here. It's an included template. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Let's look at the theme again. So let's just update the color of the header. To do so, I will just go to the header here and add a style tag. It's not the official way. It's not the best practice to do it that way, but just for the sake of demonstration, I'll do it that way. Background color, and let's call it, well, light green. Double check. And now if I save this, my text editor will automatically save it back to the FTP server, which is running in Confluence. And now if I do a reload, and now it's light green, the header. I'm glad that worked. And now maybe we also change the color of the navigation sidebar. So let's open the sidebar here, and let me try to do that way. Save, reload. That's not right. So we put it here. Also not right. It should be here. Okay, now you can see it's fairly easy. It's you can do it with FTP. You can update it on your development system really easily. It's you hardly have any limits. You can use includes to have reuse across your templates. If you want to reference, JavaScript or images or anything, that's also really easy. I wanted to show you this. That's in the header. So if you want to load like a CSS, it's just you should use like the placeholder for the theme base URL, and then you do slash whatever folder you have in your theme, and then the name of the file. So for example, there's /CSS/ bootstrap CSS is just in that very folder, as you can see. And that way you can bring your own frameworks and use them, and you have any flexibility you want to have. And once you're done with developing a theme, you can go back to the theme configuration in Viewport. Therefore, you have to be, by the way, you have to be Confluence admin to manage themes. And then you can download the theme as an Atlassian plugin. So that's the one we've just created. You download it; it's a jar file, and then you can upload that file on your test system and on your production system, and then you have there your or ship it to a customer or whatever, and then you have like it's easily deployed with the Universal Plugin Manager. Okay, so that's the demo, and let me. And I just wanted to quickly advertise the documentation site. It's on our wiki. It's not a Viewport yet, which is funny, but we're working on it. We have a Google group where you can ask questions, and we try to answer them really quickly. And then also we have about 5 free Viewport theme examples on Bitbucket. Just go to bitbucket.org/Viewport, and you can just take them as a starting point and create your own themes from them. We don't like, from a license standpoint, they're all MIT licensed, so you can use them and do whatever you want. You can sell them whatever you want. And additionally, about Scroll Viewport 2.0, please check out the release notes. Viewport 2.0 is not available yet. We hope to have it available before Christmas. It looks good. We have an EAP release notes page in our documentation. Please check this one out for more information, and especially for template developers, and also for the upgrade guide. Thanks a lot so far, and now I hope we have any questions. Johannes? So when is it available? As I just said, it will be available when it's ready, but we plan to release it next week. We just want to make sure that everything, all the placeholders and everything which worked in version 1.x, that they're still available and work. We have a huge set of automated tests for that, but we also do manual testing for that. Next question. Do I have to take care about upgrading my themes? Yes, there is. As I mentioned, the themes now require a template named page VM. That's because of that page selection. I can quickly step to that slide. Basically, what you have to do, if you have like a page.vm file, or if you don't have a page VM file, you have to rename your file from however it's called, whether it's called index.vm or default.vm, and rename that one to page VM so that Viewport will pick that one up. That's the only breaking change. If you have any questions, please do ask on the mailing list or on the Google group, and we will help you to change that. It should be a really easy fix. There's another related question to that. Will themes work from version 1.x? You have to make that change, and then then they will work. Then there is a question about the flat URL feature. Let me try to explain the use case behind this. So I will show a website of our first customer who actually had helped us to create Scroll Viewport, because he wanted to have something like that as well, and we worked together on that. And that's Jörg Eugster from Switzerland, and he's writing a book in Confluence, or he has been writing it for a long while. It's a really huge book on online marketing, and this book you can also buy it on Amazon, but you can also look at parts of it online. And he wanted to have a website for that, and that's why we created a real website on top using Scroll Viewport. And the book is really huge, I can tell, and the hierarchy is really deep. So let me try to find a really long URL. I hope I think Jörg registered for the webinar as well. So I hope he doesn't mind if I take his website as an example. I'm just trying to find where is it? The book. Here we go. Online marketing. So here you can see already that's the tree. And let's drill down into those pages. Here's already tweaked quite a bit so that the URLs don't get too long. But now here you can see that the URL gets really long. On the other hand, it's not really necessary to have the whole hierarchy here. It would be enough to have just like the name of the current page in the URL for SEO. So we could get rid. So now we can get rid of the hierarchy in between and just use the page ID to load that very page. I hope that makes sense. Question about custom fields and metadata. Custom fields is probably content. They're called content properties in Confluence, where you can store custom data with pages. That is currently not out of the box available in Scroll Viewport, but you can create what we call pluggable placeholder. So with a little bit of Java development, you can develop this yourself. Let me quickly show you in the developer's guide. I think under advanced topics, here we have developing pluggable placeholders. So basically what you do is you have to create a Java class like this, which accesses the Confluence API, and then in a plugin you can use that pluggable placeholder just like this, and this will access your Java code. However, we have an open issue for that. Please vote on that in Jira, and we will build something into Confluence, into Viewport. We are just waiting for Atlassian to tell us their story about the future of content properties and the content query language, which is currently working on. Any other questions, Johannes?
Oh, someone wants
comments.
Yes,
yes,
that's right.
That's right. We have that on our list, and we will tackle that soon. We've pushed it back so that we can release Scroll Viewport 2.0 this year. But there's also on the Google group, there's a workaround how to display comments in a viewport. I know that's not ideal. You could look at this, and also we will go after that soon.
Thanks a lot for joining, and hope to see you guys again. Thank you. Bye.